In the autumn of 2024, Daniel and Elise Merrow, a couple in their mid-30s, left the clamor of Seattle for a fresh start. Daniel, a freelance architect, and Elise, a novelist seeking inspiration, craved solitude after a miscarriage had strained their marriage. They found Blackthorn Ridge, a 50-acre plot in Washington's Cascade Mountains, listed at an inexplicably low price. The land came with a century-old cabin, its cedar walls weathered but sturdy, nestled in a clearing surrounded by dense firs and a jagged ravine locals called the Hollow. The realtor, a nervous man named Hargrove, glossed over the property's history, muttering only that it had been vacant for decades. Daniel, pragmatic and eager to rebuild, saw potential in the cabin's bones. Elise, drawn to its eerie charm, felt it whispered stories. They signed the deed in October, unaware of the whispers they'd soon hear. The first weeks were idyllic. Daniel sketched plans to modernize the cabin, while Elise wrote feverishly, her Gothic novel taking shape. The wilderness was vast and silent except for the wind howling through the hollow. They hiked the land, discovering relics, a rusted axe head, a crumbling stone well, and, near the ravine, a circle of blackened stones that looked like an old fire pit. Elise, ever the romantic, imagined ancient rituals. Daniel, ever rational, dismissed it as a forgotten campsite. Their evenings were spent by the fire, rekindling the intimacy they'd lost. But the cabin had a way of shifting moods. At night, its timbers creaked like footsteps, and Elise swore she heard faint murmurs from the walls. By November, the anomalies began. Elise woke one morning to find her notebook open to a page she hadn't written, scrawled with the words, "They see you," in jagged script. She showed Daniel, who chalked it up to sleep writing, though unease flickered in his eyes. Then, tools Daniel left in the shed appeared in the yard, arranged in neat rows. The well, which they'd boarded up, was uncovered overnight, its depths exhaling a damp metallic odor. Daniel, frustrated, blamed local vandals, but their nearest neighbor was 10 miles away, and no tire tracks marred the dirt road. Elise, researching the area for her novel, visited the nearby town of Coldwater. At the library, she met Alma, who was a retired schoolteacher with a penchant for local lore. Alma's eyes darkened when Elise mentioned Blackthorn Ridge. "That land's cursed," she said, lowering her voice. "Belonged to the Thorns, a family that settled there in the 1890s. They vanished in 1903, all 7 of them. No bodies, no trace. Folks say the Hollow took them." Alma handed Elise a faded photograph of the Thorn family, stern parents, 5 children, standing before the cabin. Their eyes seemed to follow her. When Elise asked about hauntings, Alma clammed up, saying only, "Don't dig too deep." Back at the cabin, Elise shared the story with Daniel, who scoffed. "Ghost stories sell land cheap. That's why we got it." But that night, he woke to a child's laughter outside. He grabbed a flashlight, finding nothing but frost on the grass. Elise, sleepless, heard it too. A giggle, then a whisper, "Stay." She began to dream of the Thorn children, pale and hollow-eyed, beckoning her to the ravine. As winter tightened its grip, the phenomena intensified. Elise found footprints in the snow, small, barefoot, circling the cabin. They vanished when Daniel inspected them, as if erased. The fire pit by the hollow reignited one night, flames licking the air without fuel. Daniel, rattled but stubborn, doused it with water, only for it to flare again hours later. Electronics malfunctioned, their phones lost signal, and the radio spat static laced with garbled voices. Elise recorded the sounds, transcribing fragments like "a never leave" and "hours." Elise's obsession grew. she scoured the cabin, finding a loose floorboard under the rug. Beneath it was a tin box containing a diary, its leather cover cracked. The entries, dated 1902 to 1903, were written by Abigail Thorne, the family's matriarch. Abigail described a presence in the hollow, a force that promised prosperity but demanded loyalty. "It watches us," she wrote. "The children hear it sing." The final entry, dated March 1903, read, "We go to it tonight. The hollow calls." Elise, chilled, showed Daniel the diary. He admitted it was unsettling but insisted it proved nothing. "People go mad out here. Doesn't mean ghosts." Daniel's skepticism wavered when he found a carving on the cabin's back wall, hidden by ivy, 7 stick figures, their heads scratched out, surrounded by the words, "Bound to the hollow." He hadn't noticed it before, though he'd inspected the exterior thoroughly. That night, they argued, Daniel accusing Elise of feeding into delusions, Elise pleading for him to believe her. As tempers flared, the cabin's lights flickered, and a low wail rose from the well. They froze, clutching each other, as the sound faded into silence. Desperate for answers, Daniel contacted Hargrove, demanding the property's history. Hargrove, evasive, admitted the Thorns' disappearance was unsolved. "There were rumors," he said. "Rituals, maybe sacrifices. But it's just talk." He hung up abruptly. Elise, meanwhile, returned to Alma, who reluctantly shared more. "The Thorns," she said, "were shunned for their strange practices, fires in the hollow, chants at midnight. After they vanished, search parties found only their clothes, folded neatly by the ravine. Some say they joined something in the land," Alma whispered. "Something that never lets go." Elise and Daniel decided to investigate the hollow. Armed with flashlights and a rope, they descended the ravine's steep path at dawn. The air grew heavy, the trees unnaturally still. At the bottom, they found a cave, its entrance framed by stones etched with spirals. Inside, the walls glistened with moisture, and the air buzzed with a low hum. Scattered on the floor were relics, a child's shoe, a tarnished locket, a knife with a bone handle. Elise, trembling, recognized the locket from the Thorn family photo. Daniel, pale, urged her to leave, but she pressed deeper, drawn to a faint glow. At the cave's heart was a pool, its surface black and still, reflecting their faces and others. 7 pale figures, the Thorns, stared back, their eyes empty. Elise screamed as the reflections moved, reaching upward. Daniel pulled her back, and they fled, the cave's hum chasing them. Back at the cabin, they boarded the windows, vowing to leave at first light. But the land seemed to tighten around them. The road to Coldwater was blocked by fallen trees, their phones dead. The cabin shook with unseen blows, and the well's wail grew deafening. On their final night, Elise and Daniel barricaded themselves inside. Elise, clutching Abigail's diary, read aloud, "The hollow binds what it claims. To leave is to offer another." She realized the land demanded a sacrifice. Daniel, frantic, refused to entertain it. "We're not cursed. We'll burn the damn place down if we have to." But as he spoke, the door burst open, revealing the Thorn children, or their shades, standing in the snow. Their mouths moved in unison, "Stay or give." Elise, driven by instinct, grabbed the locket from the cave, now in her pocket, and ran to the hollow. Daniel followed, pleading. At the ravine's edge, she tossed the locket into the fire pit, chanting, "Take it back." The flames roared, and the children's shades dissolved, their wail fading. The land stilled. Exhausted, Daniel and Elise stumbled back to the cabin, believing the curse broken. They packed their car and drove to Coldwater at dawn, vowing never to return. A year later, Daniel and Elise had rebuilt their lives in Portland. The cabin was sold, Blackthorn Ridge sealed off as a protected site after geological instability was reported. Elise's novel, The Hollow's Call, became a bestseller, though she never spoke of its truth. Daniel, designing eco-homes, seemed at peace. Their marriage, scarred but stronger, held. One night, Elise woke to a familiar giggle. She crept downstairs, finding Daniel staring at a photo on his phone, the Thorne family, taken from the library. "I don't remember saving this," he whispered. The cabin's creaks returned, though they lived in a modern loft. Elise checked her email, heart sinking. An anonymous sender had sent a video, time-stamped that night. It showed Blackthorn Ridge, the cabin intact, its windows glowing. The camera panned to the hollow, where Daniel and Elise stood, hand in hand, their faces blank, chanting in unison with the Thorns, "Bound to the hollow." The video cut to static. Elise turned to Daniel, but he was gone. Her reflection in the window showed not her face, but Abigail Thorne's, smiling. The truth crashed over her, they'd never left Blackthorn Ridge. The past year, their escape, their new life, was a dream woven by the hollow. They'd offered themselves that night, not the locket, and the land had claimed them, body and soul, forever.